to have you all here and to talk about our milestone in our program milestone. And I'm gonna share my screen here just a little bit. Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, so we are today. We are going to talk about the program milestone, and I would first want to thank Rebecca for planning our organization and the event, and thank you for Tian for planning this event. She is our professional development officer, and Jenny also thank you for helping Tian, and also thank Helen for advertising for this event. Welcome everybody, and thank you for being with us. Today we are having the panelists to talk about their experience and share their experience about the milestone of our program, Instructional Design and Technology. And first we want to welcome our panelists. We have Dr. Samantha Garadar and Brooke Martin, Ming Lee as well. We have Samantha is alumni from our program. Brooke and Ming, they are current students in our program. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'll go first since I'm on the top of the list, I guess. Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Garadar. I graduated with my doctorate in instructional design in 2015. So it's been a hot second, but I'm really excited to see some new faces. I think most of you were not there when I was a student because that was quite some time ago at this point. But I'm really excited that you all are here in the program, and I'm excited to kind of be involved with my Hokie family. I'm currently living in Honolulu, Hawaii. It is nice and warm right now. I'm very happy to be warm. I really don't care for the cold weather, so I have a lot of appreciation for you all who are going through it in Blacksburg. I know sometimes the winter can be hard. But yeah, I just wanted to say hello and aloha from Hawaii.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Brooke Martin, and goodness, I should be finishing up the program this year. I started back in about the end of 2015. So I've been in here a little bit and everything. And I currently work over in the TLOS department. If you've ever heard of the TLOS department, probably because I work with Jenny. And I'm happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ming Lee. Kelly, thank you. Okay, so my name is Ming Lee, and I'm an international student. I'm from China. I came to Virginia Tech to pursue a PhD degree in instructional design technology in fall 2016. And similar to Brooke, I'm working on my dissertation, and I'm planning to graduate this spring, hopefully. Currently, I'm working over instructional technology master online. Most of you might know ITMA. So I'm working as a grader there. And also this semester, I'm also working with the new director of school education, Dr. Gassman, on communications and marketing. And I'm also working over a lab as well. So yeah, and yeah, I'm glad to be here, and very glad to see everyone here, and looking forward to conversations. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We are going to start. A lot in our audience are having experience with the milestone in our program, and we want to discuss these milestones. For example, for me, I'm going through prelim, and others going through qualifying exam, and so on. So we would like to you share your experience and your how do you go through all these milestones, and what milestone you are currently doing. So who would like to start?
I'll start. For me, I'm at the second year of my PhD program, and I'm planning to do my prelim this summer. I have a general topic right now, and me and Dr. Potter, who is my advisor right now, and we're trying to narrow down the topic. Yeah.
Hi, this is Kamla. Good evening to you all. I'm just like Tian. This is my second year and I'm planning to do my prelim, but hopefully I'm planning on doing it or taking it on March, hopefully. I'm working on that right now and I have already submitted a first draft, but I believe I still have to do a lot of work on that. I still haven't received any feedback on it.
I guess I can go. Hi, I'm Bryce. This is my first year, second semester. So I am hopefully taking my qualitative exam come, I think April is when Dr. Potter's slated it for. Don't have much of an idea of what I'm going to do for my dissertation or anything, but yeah.
I can go. I'm Iman. Again, like Bryce, this is my first year. I didn't take any exam. So of course, no one will ask me any of those questions about the exam. And I really want to know more information about qualifying exam. And that's it.
I have a question, please. So the first exam that should appear on the list should be qualifying exam, right?
Qualifying, yes.
Qualifying, yeah. I mean, it's not the qualitative, it's qualifying exam.
Yes, it is misspelling. Thank you, Anna. Who else want to share with us their experience?
I will go next. My name is Munira Aldwerij. I'm planning to take this semester a prospectus exam. My advisor is Dr. Potter, and that's my experience.
Who else? Okay, if no one else want to go, we can just start it. If anyone can start it with talking about the qualifying exam. Sorry for misspelling. Just fix that. From our panelist, can you start, please?
Oh, sure. I could go ahead and start if that's okay. So with the qualitative exam, or qualifying, see now I'm saying qualitative, the qualifying exam, it was a really interesting exam. They gave you, I remember them giving us a list of about 10 articles to read, and we would go in person and take this exam. I think it was like from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. or something to that effect. And you think you have all the time in the world, but that time flies by really fast. So what I did, what helped me with that exam was I basically printed out all of those articles. You know, I read through them, I highlighted, I added notes to them, and you know, I started to create like a Word document, and then I started refining the notes even more. I basically, looking across all those articles, I tried to pull apart, you know, what's similar between these articles, what's different between them, to try to anticipate, you know, what are they going to ask, you know. So I know there was an article in there about, I think it was a Driscoll article or something, but it was about learning theory. So I'm like, okay, let me make sure I know everything about that. And, you know, I noticed patterns with like Clark, and then there was Kozma, and there was all that debate. So I tried to find patterns. I tried to find connections with the articles, and went in, I took the exam. They were generous to give us, ITSA was giving us the snacks and the coffee in the morning because it's 8 a.m. and you're taking this major test. I recommend that you pay attention to the time because, again, I used all the time and I still felt like I didn't have enough time to really go back through and refine it the way I would like. Now, the faculty, they're not looking for a well-polished paper, of course. But, you know, I still try to reserve some time to where you can kind of like find those loose ends that you might need to, you know, like this sentence just, I need to remove that sentence. It doesn't make any sense. Try to leave time for at least that. Try to see those connections. And in fact, you meet with your committee after the exam, like a week or two after. You meet with them in person. They kind of talk to you about it. And so, I mean, that was one of the compliments they gave me was like, oh, you made some really good connections in here, you know, between these articles. So as you're doing that, try to, you know, take a look and see if there's any similarities or differences between them. And basically synthesize, understand everything in those articles so you can just, so it'll just be easier on you. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you on that.
Great, thank you, Brooke. Dr. Samantha, if you have anything to add, or Ming.
Well, I think Brooke's approach is really good. It's hard to follow up that. That sounds like a really great way to go about preparing for the qualifying exam. My experience was a little bit strange because I had no background in education before I started the program. I actually came from animal and poultry sciences up the hill at Lytton Reeves. So for me, it was really interesting taking the qualifying exam because a lot of it was brand new to me. So going along kind of with what Brooke was saying, I think really kind of making your own notes and making sure that those make sense to you, right, from whatever background you're coming from, and just making sure that you know the highlights that stick out to you from each of those articles. Again, those connections between the articles is going to be super important because your faculty members really want to see that you are able to think like a researcher, you know, and making connections is part of that. So what they don't want to see, I think, is like just a repetition of what's already there. They want your own spin. Yeah. So don't be afraid to put your own unique perspective on it from wherever you're coming from. I know as someone who was brand new to the program, I probably threw some things in there that they were like, what? But sometimes it's those things that are a little bit different, you know, that different spin that is really important. And especially when you start developing your own ideas for your dissertation and coming up with something brand new to contribute to the literature, that's going to be super important. So I guess while you're in the actual exam, again, like Brooke mentioned, it goes quick. So what I found really helpful was kind of making some notes at the start for just, you know, which articles would fit, you know, for me under certain questions, right, that I was given. So I kind of like grouped them, and that kind of helped me to narrow my focus down rather than feeling overwhelmed by, oh gosh, I have to like put everything into every question, you know. So you don't have to do that, but, you know, think of the things that are most relevant and try to really like focus on narrowing things down. I think that's what really helped me.
Well, I agree with everything Dr. Garadar and Brooke just shared. Especially, they both mentioned making the connections and you know, synthesize the articles, because they are not just the standing alone articles. There are some ideas that inside that you need to read and really understand. And you know, sometimes you know, coming into the program, just like Dr. Garadar, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name, I'm sorry. So you're coming into the program, we are from different, you know, academic background, academic areas. And for me, in my case, I'm international. So there are some things in the articles that might be, you know, a little bit more difficult than the others to understand. So it doesn't hurt to go find some other materials, you know, to help yourself to better process the articles. And I was taking some notes. First thing I want to mention is things are going different. I mean, the exams, because when I was taking the exam, our approach or the program was, you know, you have the list of the articles and you read those articles. You need to memorize some of those, not really like memorize, but more like understand and memorize some of the details. And then you go into the exam. You don't have the articles. All you had was a list, you know, a list of all the articles, the titles, the authors. That's pretty much what we had. And then you stay there for 5-6 hours and just try your best to answer questions, you know, tracing memories. So we had non-articles. But then I know some of you who have already taken the qualifying exam. Now the approach is you do have the articles available with you. You take the articles to go to the exam. So that's a big difference, you know, from what I was doing the exam. And the other thing is we were doing face-to-face exams. So Brooke mentioned we had coffee, we had cookies, we had a lot of snacks. But now I'm pretty sure everything is virtual. And I know some of you, like Tian and your cohort, you have taken the exam in virtual. So I think you can share your experience as well, because Bryce is yet to take the exam. So you can share some tips to taking it virtual. So that's a thing that I would like to know your experience as well. And the second thing is, oh yeah, just talk the second thing, okay? Okay, so group study. So when I was taking the qualifying exam, we were allowed to hold a small scale group study on the articles. And I saw someone posting a document in the chat. I'm not sure if that's the document that will take you to some sample questions. Bushra, are those the questions? No? Okay. So maybe it still has the Canvas website, the Canvas course site, where you have some sample questions from previous exams. So my group study at the time was led by an international student as well. So, you know, she was like, yeah, maybe let's just get together and kind of talk through some of the questions and see what everyone thinks. And maybe I was missing some points, and yeah, let's just see what everyone thinks. And also, you know, after those kind of a very small scale group study, my impression was in that process, I mean, I was trying to explain my thoughts of the articles. That was also a very good practice, because when you actually speak loud the things, you might notice, okay, maybe I'm not really know what this term is, or okay, I have something, you know, else to learn about this term. So that was helpful for me as well, group study. And I'm pretty sure it's still allowed now, right? So yeah, so, you know, it really comes down to personal preference, because I know some people just prefer studying on their own. Some people maybe can study better in a group setting. But, you know, whether approach you take, you have to read the articles first and read many times. So that is a must. Okay, so that's about group study. And okay, about scheduling. My Brooke mentioned, first you go to the written part, you provide the written response, and then after a few weeks, you go to an oral examination, or, you know, a conversation. So in my case, it was snowing the day my exam was scheduled. So I was moved to, I was pretty much the last person in my cohort to take the oral part. You know, what I mean is, you know, these things happen. So if it happens, just go with it. You know, you have no way of controlling it. So just don't overthink it. It's not your fault. If it really happens, it happens. Okay, that's it. And okay. Okay, one last thing is learn to follow instructions, because, you know, either the face-to-face, Kelly is laughing, but I'm serious. So either it's face-to-face or virtual, they will provide you with the instruction. I know we, you know, as a students, kind of, for example, we're having a panel discussion right now. So you have multiple channels to listen to people talk about their experience of the exam, but those experience might not be the exact same thing you are getting when you have the exam. So listen to the instructions. Because, for example, I facilitated the exam a few times, and there were different cases that happened. I will not names, but, you know, sometimes things happen, right? For example, one time, okay, one time we had, you know, Dr. Potter told everyone, do backups, you know, back up the files, because you are writing, you are very in your zone to just trying to answer the question as much as possible and just get the things out of your mind. So sometimes you might ignore the instructions, you don't back up, then don't back up, that might happen, right? Your computer might die. Or now you are doing virtual, you at home, you know, with all the internet and the Wi-Fi and the stuff, things happen. So follow instructions, read instructions. Yeah, don't be overwhelmed. It's just yeah, it's just a conversation thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
This is great. Does anyone have any question about the qualifying exam? More question or experience to share? Yeah, can you, for those who took it virtually, can you share your experience, please?
Yeah, I can start. So yeah, our scenario and experience is totally different than those who were before us, like Samantha, Ming, and maybe Brooke as well. So Tian, Jenny, I think, no, Jenny is not with us. Tian and Kelly, we had a similar experience when COVID-19 broke out. So everything has to be done online. So I took my exam from home, my living room. I started at 8 in the morning and I almost finished at 2:30. We were given the time from morning till the evening, but we have to tell Dr. Potter about our actual start and our finish time as well. And we were not allowed to discuss any exam questions until everyone has finished. So almost each one of us would have 5 hours. We were given access to all articles, online articles and hard copies as well. But of course, we cannot discuss anything with the rest of our group members. I remember I was sitting on my desk answering all the 4 questions, I think, without even taking a break for a snack. I was too busy. And as you know, Brooke, she said, yeah, I thought I had all the time in the world. I did my best in answering all the questions. And and I was also careful to back up my files, as Ming said, and Dr. Potter has instructed us. So we have to back up our files, we save, we make sure that everything is just, kept secure and safe. And then we just sent it to Dr. Potter, and we have to wait for the oral exam. I was the first one to take it, also via Zoom. It went well. It was all the members, the chair, Dr. Potter, with all the committee members I had, like Dr. Johnson, Dr. Sinamo, and Dr. Lucky. I was frightened, but it went well. It was for 1 hour.
Thank
And
you.
we did it.
Great.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that before the actual exam, we made a WhatsApp group and a study group together. We were almost 5 to 6 people, and we would meet every week. I think every Friday, Kelly, every Friday in the CRC to discuss our, notes, to discuss the articles. We would fight together. We agree on things. We do things. We also had a WhatsApp group. It helped us a little bit, not much, but yeah, we did it well and it went well.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Kamla.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, well, let's transition to our next exam, the prelim exam. Could you please, our panelist, can you start and give us your experience about the prelim exam? I know we have new version of the prelim exam, but those who have the experience with the new version are not with us today. So just to discuss the old one, and anyone have any experience, any information about the new one, you can share your information. So Samantha, can you start, please?
Okay, I guess I'll start since I did last time. Yes, so I didn't realize they, update it and it's different now. But when I took the prelim exam, gosh, it was a little while ago, 2016 or so. But basically, the process was, I expressed like an interest in a certain topic area and did some research with it. And my committee, they gave me about 3 to 4 questions related to that topic. I was not allowed to share those questions or even talk about it with anybody. But of course, it was open book and everything. I just work on this on my own. And basically, they're taking a look at how well you do research, your ability to explore the research, get into it, and write a paper. That's basically what they're looking at. And so this is the one exam I don't remember too much, but I do remember the questions were really deep, like they're really involved. Like you can write a serious paper on these questions. So I don't know if it's even structured remotely the same way, but During this phase of me in the program, I wasn't really sure what type of topic I wanted. What do I want my dissertation to be? And so I will recommend, if you're early on in the program, qualifying, prelim, and you still don't know like a possible dissertation topic, don't panic or anything. I was one of those, like everybody else in my peer group seemed to have like a little topic area, but I didn't quite have one yet. So what I did was I just started jotting down like just concepts or topic areas I was interested in. And I came across like culturally relevant pedagogy because I have a background in anthropology. And so I basically went with that. I started digging around the literature in culturally relevant pedagogy. I expressed my interest to Dr. Locke at the time. And she basically talked to the committee and everything, and they developed these questions. And so those questions prompted me to really dig around in the literature and write a research paper. So I don't know if it's remotely structured that way, but hopefully that helps some. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really curious now that I've heard that the prelim's been changed. I'm really wondering now. I'm like, oh, how are they doing it now? So if anyone does know, please let me know, because I'm just very curious now. Kind of similar to Brooke, I was just thinking, and Brooke, I'm glad you led, because I had a moment too where I was like, what's the prelim again? So I had to like think about that for a second. It's been a while, guys. But yeah, now it's coming back. So thank you, Brooke, for forging ahead with that. It really helps me out. So for me, when I came into the program, I kind of already had an area of interest, but many of the people in my cohort did not. And I think that actually is more the normal. I think that's definitely something that, people struggle with, is finding that area of interest that they want to really like marry for the next, 5 years of your life or 4 years of your life. So it may feel like a really, really big decision, but it sometimes helps to think about it as, the topic that you're going to do for your dissertation is really just a springboard point for the rest of your research that you will do afterwards, right? So for now, just like think, what do I want to accomplish while I'm here? And then, there's endless possibilities afterwards, but I know that I'm interested in this now. So what I want to do is, pick one of these top 3, highlights that I'm really just interested in delving into. And, later on down the line, if that's something that I don't want to look at anymore, that's perfectly fine. But while you're here, you want to get those research skills and really kind of get that, that background, right, in how you do your educational research and really get your feet wet with that. So I think that might help some of you if you're kind of like, well, I'm interested in a lot. It's like, okay, well, pick one and then see where it goes. And, of course, down the line, you can expand on it or change things later on, but that might help you to focus down a little bit. The prelim, just like Brooke said, you get a couple of different questions from your committee, and they're kind of meant to be really, deep questions, right? So they're not going to give you something super simple, but that's kind of okay, because your committee also doesn't have the answers to those questions, right? They want to see that you can kind of take literature and put your own spin on it, bring it together, synthesize it, and be like, based on what I see across all of these studies, this is what I think, like this is how I would answer this question. And it's really that analysis that they're trying to find. It's like how you think as a graduate student or as a researcher in the field. So again, like it might help to know that your committee has no idea about the answers to the questions. There may be no answer to the question, currently, and that's where your research might fit in. So that's kind of an exciting place to be, really. But yeah, that's my take on the prelim exam.
Well, thank you both. Again, second time, I agree everything you just said. Well, my prelim was the same process. So you have the questions. You are not allowed to discuss with anyone. But I have heard the prelim now is you work on an article with your advisor with the notion of I'm getting this one published. Is that correct? Okay, you're nodding. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, okay, let me see. Yes, so one thing I learned, I found very helpful for me was Dr. Lucky at the time, always, because I was taking a lot of Dr. Lucky's class. So I always keep what Dr. Lucky said in mind, which was always go back to the original source. And that's extremely important for prelim because as both of our panelists have mentioned, the questions, a lot of the questions are very deep or, very get down to the very essence of the topic or of the academic area that you are interested in. So you are bound to get some very original resources. You have to. So my suggestion is don't take any chances. Don't be like, okay, I found this person citing the other person saying this. Though my suggestion is don't trust them. Although they are big names, don't trust them. Go back to the original source because in my case, as some of you know, my interest was in visual literacy and message design and a lot of that area. So there are, many people from many different areas, they're interested in using visuals to support learning. So they have a lot of articles, from very diverse backgrounds. And there are some not inaccurate information in those articles. After I went back to the original source. I even went to Virginia Tech Library. I got a thing that I've never heard of those things. It's called microfiche. I'm from China. I'm international. I don't know what are those. Well, they told me it's microfiche, and there was a machine on the second floor of Newman Library, and the person showed me how to use those. That's how I, got the original source. So you have to do that, and and also go back to what both of them shared. This really is a process that you learn to be a serious researcher. Even you are not collecting data for it. It's just a lit review. You have to treat it as a serious research. And also keep in mind, after the exam, some of you might have the chance, some your advisor might suggest, do you want to maybe publish this article, right? So that means that your name is on that article forever. So if you take chances and don't not being honest with yourself with the academic work you are doing, your name is on that article forever. So keep that in mind. Okay, and also I want to talk a little bit about, yes, this is a process to learn to be a researcher. Also include a lot of different aspects. For example, you are going to read a large amount of articles, of books, of all sorts of different resources and works. So learn how to manage those. Because you might find online some resources telling you how to do a lit review, how to manage your articles, do this, do that. But we're all different human beings. There is just not one way like it will work for me. There's not that thing. So use this process also to find a way that you are most comfortable with. And that probably will be the way that will go with you forever, for your entire life. So treat this as a great opportunity to learn something, to be a serious researcher, to learn how yourself do research, to know more about yourself. I feel like that was very important and that was very valuable for me. And also, I think I talk about ethics. Yeah, that's a huge part. And also the other thing is, I feel like you should also have confidence in yourself, because if you are taking prelim exam, that means you passed the qualifying exam. So you are qualified. So have confidence in yourself. And as also both of them both mentioned, you are pretty much becoming an expert in that topic. Maybe you know more than your advisor sometimes. It could be in terms of a topic or in a term. So that's the opportunity you are going to, being a teacher or being an instructor, to let them know what that term is. So have confidence in yourself. And I think that's important also because, in my case, after I finished my piece, well, Dr. Lucky was not my advisor, right? She's still not my advisor. My advisor is Dr. Potter. But Dr. Lucky did mention, hints, you can take this to, publish. But I was questioning myself at the time. I was like, wait, what? I'm just a second year PhD student. I'm still taking courses. I can't do that. But if someone from your committee recommended that, trust them. So have confidence in yourself, especially you know how much time you've spent on that article. You know how many books and resources you've read, and you know if you really didn't take a chance, you know that means something. So believe in yourself, trust your value, and really get that confidence going. So yeah, that's all I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Does anyone have similar experience want to share? Hey, Rebecca, you are here. Could you tell us about your experience with the new prelim exam version?
I was just going to sit quietly here. Well, first of all, hello to the panel. I apologize. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it. I had a bit of an emergency. But I'm happy that you guys could all make it to share your experiences. Yeah, in terms of the prelim, very different, I guess, from what you guys would have experienced up till this day. Yeah, so basically it's similar in the sense that we still have to condense a lot of information. It is a literature review or a conceptual piece, so you're still, as Ming says, plugging through everything you can find on the topic. Synthesizing, analyzing, it's the same, you're learning the same things or learning how to do the same things, a process for yourself. The big difference being your end product. It's no longer a I don't know a better word, I guess like a spilling of everything you can possibly find condensed into 100 pages, which I know you guys love doing previously, but instead it's condensing it even smaller now into a workable article for publication. And then the other side of it being you get to be handheld, and I mean this in a good sense, by your advisor through the whole thing. So you work with the advisor to publish this piece, which is fantastic. I apologize. I wish it would have been something sooner for those who have gone before us, because it does really promote that ability to publish in the program. It makes that a target right off the bat. So it's a good thing for the program. It's a good thing for you as a PhD student. It also, Ming had mentioned it, it ensures you're a little bit more confidence in your ability to publish, like, and it kind of assuages that fear and frustration of like, am I good enough to do this? Like, yes, you are. There's lots of PhD students out there trying to publish. So like, it's great because when we set it up with Dr. Lockie's my advisor, we set it up so that, okay, top journal, we'll aim for it first and we'll work our way down as it gets rejected. And I know that sounds so funny to say that, like that almost like a negative thing, but it's not, because I'm not going into the top journal thinking I'm going to get in at all. But why not try? Because if you don't try, it never happens. I know that's kind of a funny thing that everyone says, but it's true. Like, so try the top journal, you get your rejection, you get the feedback from it, and you work on the next one. You keep working down until you hit one. Somebody's going to take it, and hopefully as you fixed it from the feedback, it's getting better and better as you go. So I think it's a great experience because it also conditions you into, if you want to go into academia, the idea of publishing and submitting a publication. I just did my first one and I was like, oh my goodness, like I have no idea what I'm doing. And like you get into, I just did it for ETR&D, and you get into their system and you're like, what is this? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to put a cover page on it? Like, what kind of cover page do they want? What am I supposed to write the editor? Like, can I ask the editor that? Like, so it gets you familiar with a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily engage with if you're not pushed to do it. I like it because it's almost like a little, push in the right direction. To like encourage people to do it. The nice thing is the other option's still on the table. Like if you want to do the previous version of the prelim, if you're not comfortable with publication and you just want to do the synthesis of literature or questions, then it's still an option. It's not something they're taking away either. So but that's enough for me because I'm not on the panel. I hope that helped. So.
Yeah, this is very helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, our next milestone is the Pre Prospectus, and I want to ask our panel to discuss their experience and advice about the Pre Prospectus.
Yes, with the Pre Prospectus, I'm trying to think back. I remember this was basically the milestone or the paper that I worked on during. I was taking research in IDT, and I don't know if they've reformatted that course or anything, but it's kind of set up that way, where you kind of like take this topic area, preferably what you did in the prelim, if you're starting the program, try to get like some sort of topic area in the beginning. So when you go through like the preliminary exam, pre-prospectus, prospectus, it'll lead to the dissertation. I didn't think about that going in. My topic wound up changing just because I wanted to shift directions. But in any case, with the pre-prospectus, the research and IDT course like really set you up to focus on that paper. You're working on this pre-proposal. And the end result of that course is we had like a poster presentation. Like we set up a little conference in the classroom and presented our posters like we would, in a conference. So that pre-proposal can easily turn into your pre-prospectus. And that's actually what I did. So my pre-prospectus was on the culturally relevant pedagogy and so forth. So, but again, eventually somewhere in between from the pre-prospectus to prospectus, I totally changed direction. And I just want to let you know, if that happens to any of you, don't get discouraged, don't freak out or anything like that. It is perfectly fine. And, we're all going through this process, and just keep pushing through and everything. But that's all I can really remember about the pre-prospectus. You create your 20-minute presentation, you meet with your committee, and they just ask you questions about, about the paper to kind of get you to really think with, just putting on different perspectives, different lenses on what you've written. And they do a fantastic job just really digging in there and asking some really good questions. I'm like, oh, looking at it from these other perspectives, their feedback has always been like just super helpful for that. But that's about all I could think of for for the pre-prospectus.
Brooke, could you, and also the other people on the panel, if you could tell us what you actually ended up doing. I mean, you can tell us what you did before and then what you ended up, but it would be nice to know what your subject dissertation.
The culturally relevant pedagogy, the one I mentioned, like I was working on through prelim, pre-prospectus, prospectus, that's where I shifted my topic. Actually, in this case, the topic came to me because I didn't want to continue with culturally relevant pedagogy. And since I work in TLOS or whatnot, this topic came to me with blended hybrid learning related to like professional development and training faculty. So more in that context. So I had to write a white paper on that. And so that really got me into that literature and interest in that. So that's kind of how I shifted. But ideally, I mean, like in hindsight, I really wish I would have spent more time, during qualifying and during the prelim to really think more about those topic areas, so I could have like gone through the coursework and everything and worked on projects and dug more in that specific literature. That would have been more beneficial to me, but I'm still happy with my topic now and everything. So everything's good.
Is it me? I think it's me. Okay. So for me, what I remember of the pre-prospectus was mostly that it's kind of, I feel like it's really like a transition phase, I feel like, between where you were with the prelims and getting into the prospectus. I felt like the prospectus was a much bigger deal to me. I don't know. I think the pre-prospectus was kind of like a meeting with my committee members, and you put together kind of a plan for what you want to do for your project, right? That was kind of how mine felt. So the document itself is like a really concise, this is kind of what I want to do, for my dissertation. And this is kind of like a timeline that maybe I'm trying to hit, right? So your committee is going to look at it, and they're kind of going to think about, questions that they can ask you to, just kind of broaden your perspective on what you already have and kind of give you a little bit more, like maybe more avenues to look for research and things like that. They're going to have you think about different things you might not have considered previously. But it's a really like eye-opening meeting, and it's really like a great, I feel like, a jumping off point, because that's like where you kind of say, this is what I'm going to kind of do, right? So for me, it was a really good, it felt like just a really well-structured like planning stage in the process. For as far as my dissertation was on using social media as supplemental educational tools. So I did a study with Facebook, and I taught undergraduate students about sexual health related topics for a certain period of time, and at the end I did focus groups to see like whether they felt like they'd learned something and things like that. So just in a nutshell, that's kind of like what my research was. My interests are in social media because as a graduate TA in animal and poultry sciences, I was a teaching assistant, and that's actually what ended up pushing me to pursue a doctorate in education, was the fact that teaching students didn't feel like work to me. That was what felt like work was lab work, and I did not want to do that anymore. And I was like, we're definitely in the wrong program, so we gotta go somewhere else. But yeah, that's kind of my, in a nutshell, idea or for how the Pre Prospectus felt to me.
Well, I totally agree. Again, for third time. Yeah, it was a meeting. This is something that every instructor, every professor kept emphasizing. It's not an exam, it's a meeting. So if it's a meeting, that means you might have multiple meetings. That could be a possibility, because I know someone came into the program before me. She had like 3 pre-prospectus meetings to have her final topic and every detail done to work on her, the first 3 chapters for the prospectus exam. And now she just graduated last spring and now is an assistant professor of human computer interaction in a university in New York. So, if you have multiple meetings at pre-prospectus, don't feel like you are a failure or something. It's just not the case. Don't ever feel that way. And yeah, the pre-prospectus, it basically, you are preparing a document. It kind of functions like an introduction chapter for your dissertation or for the study you are going to conduct, right? So you have background information in it. You have a brief introduction of, for example, what is the research problem that you are going to address? And then the detailed research questions. How many research questions do you have? And then what is the methodology that you propose to address those research questions? And maybe include, what kind of data you are going to collect, where are you going to collect, and what is the feasibility of that? And then, very important, what is the proposed timeline for this whole dissertation study? So yeah, pretty much you are laying out a plan for the next stage or the next 1 year of your life that are going to do. So of course they want to make sure you are on a feasible track, right? You're not, they don't want to waste your time staying here and work on a thing that might not be, might not work at the end. And so for me, I didn't use mine, the first one as well. So as Brooke mentioned, I was taking the research in IDT course as well. So yeah, the purpose of that course is to kind of, get you prepared for the pre-prospectus. The final product is a pre-prospectus document. So although I didn't use mine, I did use it for a conference presentation. So that was something. And so for mine, I didn't really, switch gear to like a very largely switch my gear, but more like, shrink the size, the scale of it. So my original plan was to develop, based on the results from literature review, there are a lot of problems with assessing visual literacy abilities. So my plan was to, okay, so if there are, this problem, that problem, this list of problems, so let me address all of them in a product that I will develop, I will design. So apparently that was very ambitious. So, I listened to my committee. It's not something, it is something I can do, but maybe not at this stage of my life. I am a graduate student, and I do have some resources, but maybe not that many. and there are not, many people and to collect those data, and also it's a long process. So maybe for the future, they're not suggesting that this is something you don't want to do. It might not be the perfect or the most suitable one for you at your current stage in your life. So I hope that's clear. So listen to your committee. And what I end up doing now is I shrink it to I'm addressing one of the problems. So there are a lot of problems. I'm addressing one of them, and I'm giving it a very specific context. So in the area of IDT, and also a very specific small group of people, novice instructional designers. There are some articles talking about giving this definition, something like you're still in the program or just graduated to go in the instructional design profession with for less than 2 years. So just to give a very specific audience, a specific context to make it feasible and smaller. So yeah, and that was my pre-prospectus. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Our final two exam is the Prospectus exam and Dissertation Defense. And could you discuss the Prospectus exam and what is the difference between that exam and the defense, and what is the process going on there? And after that, we will take a question from our audience.
Okay, so talking about the prospectus, so versus pre-prospectus. I think of the pre-prospectus as kind of like the rough draft of the prospectus. The prospectus is essentially chapters 1 through 3. So basically, your introduction and background, your literature review, your research methods, and so forth. So pre-prospectus is kind of preparing you for that. Whereas the prospectus, I see that more as like that more final type of draft. It's the same process. You meet with your committee, you turn in your paper 2 weeks before, you meet with your committee, you sit down and have a discussion about it. Or you give like a little 20-minute presentation and talk through the paper. Then you sit down and talk with them, and they'll ask you some questions. And again, they're really good at digging into the paper and pointing out giving you some really good feedback and pointing out, hey, have you thought about looking at this research? Or, they've done some really great work in that. But usually by this point, it's pretty good shape. I'm trying to think of any other thing with it, because it's very much the same process. It's just a bit more, your paper is a bit more refined. So, that's kind of how I would differentiate that. And yeah, I completed that last fall. And so I really saw it as the exact same thing as the pre-prospectus, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I agree with Brooke. I think that the prospectus, well, it felt like a much bigger deal to me, but really just because it's like the expansion of what you might have had in a pre-prospectus document. So this is more like, at least the way that I viewed it, I was trying to write those first 3 chapters like that's going to be my final 3 chapters. I was really trying to hone it and polish it and make it something that, by the time I was going to turn in all the chapters, like that was going to hold as strong as I could possibly get it. So it's quite a bit of work. It's a little bit more grueling than the others, just because you're really kind of trying to get like kind of a final version, right? So, but again, the feedback from your committee is going to be really, really helpful. And I think the prospectus is particularly helpful just because rather than going from pre-prospectus straight to dissertation, you have this kind of like middle where it's like, okay, you've done a good portion of your dissertation. So let's look at that first before you start doing, your results discussion and all of the rest of it. So yeah, I felt like it comes at a really good time. But I think sometimes it just takes longer to do, obviously with the writing and stuff. So some of you might know I was a speaker for a panel or a seminar last semester, and work-life balance, it's important. Make sure that you're taking the time for yourself, and find a schedule that works for you. For me, just as an example, it really helped me to say, I'm going to write 2 pages a day. And no matter where I am in the middle of that thought, I'm going to stop, because then I'll know exactly where to pick up tomorrow. So that was really something that helped me. It doesn't work for everyone, obviously, but find a schedule or a system that works good for you, and that's going to really help you, especially at the prospectus phase.
Well, I agree. In my case, I mean, I'm a little bit different because also I'm an international student, so writing process is definitely different for me. Well, I'm not trying to write 2 pages, a day, but I definitely agree that you have to keep writing. Whatever you are writing, just write. Even it's just a 1 paragraph, just put it down. Don't have that in your on your mind. Like, just put it down, put it into actual words. And for me, well, I just mentioned when we just discussed about prelim, I said that was a great process for me to find the way that works best for me. So I'm using that way. I'm taking that experience to expanding the pre-prospectus short document into these 3 chapters. And also the other thing about mine is I'm not doing a chapter by chapter dissertation. I'm doing the article format. So prospectus is a little bit different for me. So I'm the first person in the program to do this. So the committee really didn't have a lot of experience with, being on the committee of the article format. Although there are a lot of other students from other programs like educational psychology, they've been doing this kind of a format for years. So their committee, every faculty, they are comfortable with their students, their advisees taking this format. So for me, it's kind of like me and my committee are, experimenting, are walking on this new road together. So for me, I finished my first piece. It was a lit review, right? A long time ago. And then I worked on the second one. Well, my advisor actually suggested I could take my prospectus right after I finished my first one. Well, the thing I didn't take his suggestion only because, I didn't really have a lot done for my second piece. And prospectus exam really is a great opportunity to have every committee member together, to listen to their advice, or just whatever they have to say about your piece. So I feel like this is a great opportunity for me to have at least something down with the second piece. At least I have, the little review and the methodology. So that's why I didn't take the prospectus right after I finished my first piece, although that was already like a lot of pages. So I took my prospectus last semester as well. So after I finished my first piece for a long time, the second piece till the methodology part. And also because I'm designing an assessment product, I also managed to have a very draft functioning product for them to see. So they are able to go in and click, the visuals are not there, or the flow is kind of a little bit weird, but they have something to, to hold on to. Like, this is something that I'm going to develop for my final, dissertation or the second article. So yeah, that's the experience for me. But I definitely agree that prospectus exam or this document, either you are doing chapter or article by article, it did take time. And it was a long process. And, I'm doing it in quarantine with the pandemic, and I'm living by myself. So there were, I'm not kidding, there were weeks that I was just, laying on my bed. I wasn't able to do anything. But, it is what it is. And I'm glad, as I made through, I'm still working. So that's something.
You're not the only one, Ming. Let me tell you, there's been days like I live with 2 people, so, and it's still like it's all isolating. I'm sure you're not. There's lots of people nodding on my screen right now, so we're all in that.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. We're about time. It is 7 p.m. But if you want to stay, we can talk more about the dissertation defense and then take some question if you would like, and then we'll finish after that. So feel free to talk about the dissertation defense experience and what is going on through that process.
think that's gonna be Samantha. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was like, is that just me? I think that might be me. Oh, cool. Well, so my experience with the dissertation defense. So at that point, you have, well, you finished your first 3 chapters and you've also finished a couple more, right? So at that point, hopefully, you know, you've been in touch with your committee. Something that Ming brought up before really kind of stuck with me because it's something I truly believe in also. And just the fact that your committee is there to help you, right? So your committee and your advisor, right? They're on your team. So they want you to pass. They're not trying to fail you. They're really hoping you succeed because they look really good when you succeed. So they really want to make sure you get through. So with that in mind, just like Ming said, you know, listen to them, make sure that you're keeping their feedback, you're taking their feedback into account, right? By the time you hit the dissertation defense, a good advisor and a good committee are not going to let you defend unless you're absolutely ready to, yeah? So I've heard horror stories about students who tell their committee, you know, no, I've got to defend because I'm on a timeline, right? And that's why I have to graduate. I have to, like, absolutely have to graduate right now. And the committee's like, whoa, 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 like, I don't think that's a good idea. And then you get people that fail, right? And we don't ever want to be in that situation. So listen to your committee. If it takes you an extra semester, it just takes you an extra semester, you know, kind of gotta be a little bit wiggly. We always want to hit it, but as grad students, we know that a lot of times things don't go as planned, right? So be okay with that. It doesn't make you any less of a person or anything like that. You are just going at the timeline that is working best for you, right? So that's the big thing. We all want to get there, and you're all going to get there. I know you're all going to get there. So once you hit the dissertation defense, in an ideal world, right, you know that your committee is letting you defend. So you should take comfort in that. You should know, like, they're letting me defend, so I should pass, right? So you should think to yourself, yes, I am capable, I can do this. You know, I know a lot about this topic. At this point, it's been my entire life for that many years, and I am so ready to do this. And you're gonna be nervous because I was terrified anyway. But that is absolutely normal, right? So any of these milestones, right, it feels like a big deal. But what it's really doing is, I used to feel like in the IDT program, they tested the crap out of you. Like every semester, you know, if you're trying to, you're qualifying your prelim, your prospectus, right? And they have all these milestones, but it's a good thing because by the time you get to the dissertation defense, it feels like more of the same, right? So you've already had experience going through this, and you know that you have the full support of your committee and your advisor at that point. So even as scared as I was going in on that day, I got up there and I did my presentation, and about 10 minutes into my presentation, I relaxed because I was like, oh, okay, I know what I'm talking about. So as scary as it is, you guys, everyone's done it. There are people that have come out on the other side. All of your committee members have gone through it. They all had to do that, you know, whether it was years and years ago or just recently. And they know what it's like also. They're there, they're on your team. So the biggest piece of advice I can give for the dissertation defense is really just to listen to your committee. And when they say you're ready, just, you know, try to believe that you know that you're ready. And yeah, hopefully for you guys, it goes like it went for me. And, you know, you start talking and then it's like, oh yeah, I do know what's going on. And then by the time the questions come, you're like, yeah, these questions make sense. I got this. Yeah, I'm happy to take any questions if you have any like particular specific questions about final defense.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have a question, please.
Sure.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for your time and your golden tips, you, Ming, and Brooke. So my first question is that the dissertation defense, is it going to be only 1 hour oral exam? And do I have to present something on slides or no?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So for my dissertation defense, I believe my talk was, it's been a while. I believe my talk was 30 or 45 minutes, my PowerPoint. And then it was public. So actually I had like my mom came and things like that. It was kind of nice to have that. I don't know how they do it now with Zoom or any of that. But hopefully by the time you all defend, it'll be back to in person. And then after you give your presentation, they're going to kick everyone out of the room, and then you're there with your committee. They're going to ask you some questions, kind of similar to, you know, the other exams that you've taken and things like that. But at that point, you're very well prepared, so you know exactly what to expect, and be okay. Also, I don't know if this was said, but be okay with, I don't know. Maybe I need to look more into that. Okay, so don't ever, you know, lie. Don't be like making things up, because that's going to be so much worse, right? So tell your committee, oh, you know, I didn't actually think about it like that, or that feels a little beyond the scope of my project, but I'd really like to investigate that later, you know? The dissertation does not have to be perfect, right? Because afterwards you have some edits that maybe you're going to go back and make before you submit it. But yeah, so you have presentation, and then you have kind of like question and answer with your committee, and then you're going to get kicked out of the room again. They're going to talk about you, or they're going to talk about what they want to have for lunch, and then you're going to come back in, and then they're going to tell you, congratulations, doctor, your name. You are now part of this academic community. So yeah. Does that help?
Another follow-up question, please. So when you said public, does it mean that I know from before that sometimes they put an announcement for like School of Education. So if they want to invite any members, maybe it doesn't have to be family members. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So the seminars, when they get scheduled, they're open to public, which means that anyone can come in if they have an interest in seeing your work and your presentation. So I personally recommend having friends come if you do have friends, because it's very nice to see, you know, friendly faces. Even though your committee is friendly, it's nice to see unrelated friendly faces also in the room.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you.
Kamala, you can go to the final defenses if anyone's having one this semester. You can go. You can apply to go. Send them an email. Do you want me to be there?
Yeah, I haven't seen any news, you know, or any announcement for kind of defenses so far. I don't know, people, if you have seen any. I haven't seen any.
I went to a few. Yeah, exactly like Dr. Can I call you Dr. Samantha? I'm so sorry.
Does it usually come through listserv, graduate student listserv, or what?
Well, I know some programs do that. I don't think I've never seen IDT program does that. It's pretty much yeah, the person who will defend will invite people. Yeah,
I think it's because we're so like we are smaller. Like because and there hasn't been. I think there was one last. I don't even think, was there one last term, like a dissertation defense? I think it might have been even the spring, because I feel like it's like year 2080 already. So like it's in my brain, but I don't think if there was only one last term. If I
Dr. Muhammad.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's like my understanding was that the onus is on them to invite like people, I guess. Like Bang, if you wanted me there, I mean, hint, hint, I'm just kidding.
Of course, I want all of you.
No, I'm just like, if you want someone there that like, you know, your cohort or something that's been with you, I would assume that you can invite them even on Zoom or something. I don't know. Our program's awesome. They're pretty flexible.
Looking forward to that moment.
It's a while yet. Mings is coming soon, right, Ming? What? I'm sorry.
Hopefully.
I have a question for the panel about the Pre Prospectus exam. Usually it takes a year for preparing for that exam, as I noticed from other students. How do you manage this year? What do you do at the first year semester, and what do you do for the next semester? What is the how to manage your time and the process?
Is there anyone? Okay. You mean after your prelim, you feel like your impression is people take 1 year to prepare for prospectus? Is that your impression? Well, I would say it really depends. It really depends. You know, for example, your prelim, some people, they use pretty much the exact thing that they did for prelim for their second chapter, the literature review for the dissertation. So basically for your prospectus, you have chapter 2 already. And then because of pre-prospectus, you have your introduction chapter, the skeleton of the first chapter. And then you only need to, detailize the methodology chapter. So this is the I would say the perfect case, not maybe the perfect word, but that's one case for some people. But there are also other cases, right? You might change your direction. If you change your direction, like a very big direction change, that will be, very big. You might take more than a year. Or if you, and also I will also say it depends on, for example, I have an assistantship and I'm doing a lot of work for my assistantship. So that also, maybe during the daytime you did those, you are mentally drained a little bit, So it really depends. I would say don't focus on the time you spent, focus on the quality, focus on convincing yourself whether the work you have done is will convince the committee that the chapters you accomplished will be expanded to a dissertation, will be feasible for you, and will address the research questions you initially wanted to answer, efficiently. So I would say don't focus on the time, focus on the progress you are making.
Yeah, I think the key for me was always small but manageable goals. So the things that, instead of I'm going to finish the prospectus in a year, which is kind of fuzzy, right? It's kind of like, it's difficult. There's a lot of time in between. Maybe like this month, I'm going to really work on the first chapter, right? And then I'm going to see how far I get. And then the next month, I'm going to work on this part of my lit review or something like that. For me, again, it was kind of, I'm very motivated by lists. So if I have something I have to check off my list, it really bothers me until I take it and I can cross it off. So for me, writing down that 2 pages a day thing for me was really important to get me going. But it's kind of like a marathon, right? So if with running, right, until you get into a routine, it's really kind of painful, and then once you're in the routine, it's fine for a little while. But the second you stop, it's easy to really stop. So you really want to do a little bit of something, very consistently, whatever routine you can get into to keep you going.
Thanks, that's good to hear. Because I had put in the chat just kind of what's ways, like I'm into that all dissertation phase, like I'm done classes and like I was done and I was like, oh, I have all this time to work on my stuff. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. Like it kind of sat there because I realized that my classes managed my time, like it gave it that structure for so long. And I mean, like for so long, like, the last 10 years of my life, because I've been in school forever. But yeah, it was like, that's actually really good. I need to write that. I wrote that down, small but manageable goals, because like I sat for January, like I worked in January, but I just felt not as productive as I could be because I just felt out in left field. Like I just didn't know what to do. It was a really strange feeling. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna handle this just fine. And I did not handle it as well as I could have. So, but thank you.
No, I 100% agree with Samantha on that. I take a very similar approach. I think it's good to kind of have that goal out there. Like my goal right now is to finish in the fall. Okay, that's kind of out there still. And so I kind of like keep myself in check. Like, okay, well, to get there, I need to focus on my dissertation. I need to I commit time on the weekends mostly, and I'm trying to carve out time during the week, like after work or before work. I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. But some people need that structure. You need I need a certain set time to keep on this. So I kind of set those little goals as well. And I love checklists and checking them off. It's very satisfying. So I'm very much the same way in that regard. And you're going to have moments where you have days where it's like, I just can't do any writing, and you'll just doubt yourself maybe, or like, okay, I give up or something. Don't do that. Like you're just gonna have days where you're really productive and everything's great, and you know you kind of have to take the days where you're not as productive and just keep pushing through. Just know yourself, know how you work, know your habits. Just be aware of your thoughts and your feelings, and push on through it. Like I was saying in the chat, like some days I'm just not good at writing, so I want to make some sort of progress. So maybe I should focus on maybe some formatting or reading an article or something, you know, making some sort of progress towards it. That kind of keeps me in line sometimes when I kind of derail, but it's perfectly natural, and it happens to us all. So that's best advice I could give.
Great, thank you. Anyone has any more questions about the milestones or?
I have a question, please, for Rebecca.
Hi. Sorry.
Yeah, because I'm following the new approach, the new article approach, the publication thing. So
yeah.
I would just look at Rebecca, Gada, and the rest as models because these people are preceding us. So Rebecca, how many drafts I have to work on before it gets clean, I mean, and ready for publication?
Well, it depends. It's actually very similar to what Samantha had said with the dissertation. It's never perfect. Like it's never done really. I don't know. Like you sit in this weird quasi space where you can always do it better. Like you can always fix it. But I finally said, actually, I'll tell you experience from Gada's point of view. Like her and I kind of work side by side, like not together, but we did a lot of talking about the process because we were the first two to do it. And she finally got to a point where she kept on submitting draft after draft after draft, and she was like, I'm ready to do this, like I know this stuff. And finally I said, you need to say to your supervisor I'm ready, and see if they agree, because she had never just outright asked her her advisor, do you think I'm ready? And when she did that, they're like, oh yeah, you were like 3 drafts ago. We're just they just kept pushing and pushing for more because they wanted to be better. And I finally had, like, I did the same thing too at one point, because like I had a timeline, like I guess, and maybe Brooke, Ming, and Samantha, you can all say, you need to advocate for yourself. The people in this program advisors committee are great. Do not get me wrong. They're fantastic. They'll push you, but you also have to advocate for yourself. Like if you have a timeline, also be gentle on yourself, exactly like Samantha said, but if you have a timeline and you said that you wanted to do it by this time, make that known to your advisor. And if you're getting close and they think you're prepared, like what's it look like? If it's completely off the block and they're like, no, you're not gonna be ready by that time, get them to be honest with you. And that's communication. Like you have to make sure that you're comfortable with your advisor. Like I know right now for me, because my advisor is Dr. Lockie, we have that communication flow where I can just be like, is this good or is this not? Like, and like not in I don't take it negatively. She'd be like, no, it's not ready. Work on this. Work on, like we just have that. It works for us. I'm also not one that takes things like constructive stuff really personally. Like I'm just like, what ifs? Okay, let's go back. So you find out what works with your advisor, and then get them to give you, like, tell them what you want, and then get them to give you an answer about that. That's the biggest thing. I did like, but I'm like, see, that's my. You can't gauge it based on my drafts. I did 3 drafts, and like it's still going to be redraft. Like that was just to do my prelim. I'm going to redraft it in the summer and submit it, and I'll probably do it 2 or 3 more times then. So like, I can tell you, I just did a submission for ETRD, and that one I'm working on with Dr. Lockie, and we've done 16 versions of it. So. And yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, version, exactly. That's what all my files look like, Samantha. Yeah, see, yeah, I mean, you get, yeah, version 462. Like, let me just say something. Yeah, so like, it's just, it's not about numbers of drafts. It's where they think they, I think all of you have touched on this. It's where your advisor says, you have proven to us, or I think you can prove that you know what you're doing, because the best thing, and those who don't know Dr. Lockie, she's very much about, the dissertation is not about saving the world. even though you want to with it. Like I want to change the world with my dissertation right now. So I'm sitting trying to figure out the best possible topic. And she was finally like, just pick something, like just pick something you're interested in, follow it down the road, get your dissertation done. She goes, then change the world. She goes, your dissertation can be great. Don't get me wrong. There could be ones that do change the world. There are those, but she was like, at the same time, she goes, the chance of it changing the world is very, very unlikely. It's going to be a foundation for you to change the world. So, but it's the same thing with the prelim and every other step in there too. Like just show them that you can research. That's, I guess. And please correct me, Brooke, Samantha, Ming, if I'm wrong, because I'm only just past the prelim. So like I haven't done the next phases and
You are right.
thank you. Ming's like, correct. But like I get that impression just from, and that's what I mean from like our program, that's what they try to foster. It's, I love how Samantha says that you shouldn't be like you will be terrified, but you shouldn't be terrified because they're not out to like grate you like when you get there and like destroy you and remove you out of the program. Like they're not chafing the wheat to get like to remove the or whatever. Like that's not the point here. But I know some programs that do that at schools like that. That's not here. I would stake my PhD on that not being the case here. And I don't even have it yet. So I think they're super supportive. You might get an odd question though, and you know, some of the that I think is my only question I had. Did any of you guys get really odd questions, and how did you deal with that one where it kind of threw you for a loop? Samantha kind of talked about that being able to say I don't know, because I had to in mine. I was like, I actually asked them like when I was at my qualifying, am I allowed to say I don't know? Like I was like, I don't know. Like
Thank you.
yeah, if anyone wants to weigh in on that, they can. If not, I don't want to hold anybody up too, because I know our panelists are probably over time. So if you guys need to go, please, by all means, you can run away. But Bushra, if you want to wrap up, and then if anyone wants to stay and talk, we can.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us, and special thanks to Samantha, Ming, and Brooke for your valuable advice, and everybody who shared their experience and advice. We are going to end up this session, and if anyone wants to stay and discuss more, you are welcome to stay. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you to the panel. Brooke and Ming, we look forward to hearing your success in the very near future, hopefully. And I know Samantha's coming back to teach us how to dance. I'm so excited. I don't know if you'll be excited to see me dance, but I mean, but I've heard good things. So,
guys, can we take pictures?
Yeah, if you guys are you guys all right with that, or if anybody has any issues?
No, I don't. My hair. I haven't cut my hair in a year.
Oh, got me either. You
like,
and I can. Oh yeah, I hear you. Like, do you have the dye lines? Like, yeah, totally. Yeah, I got that. Like, it's like, oh yeah, this is the length it grew in 2 years. But yeah, if anyone wants, they can shut off their screen if you're not comfortable. Totally okay. But Helen loves to get them for social.
My hair is really unkept.